Ok, hello. Hola, muy buenas. Hola, muy buenas. Bienvenidos. Tengo con nosotros quizás el vídeo más especial que he hecho en mi canal y es que estoy charlando con Raya Golden, que es la autora de esta maravilla, junto a George Martin. Hello, Raya, how are you?
Hola, I'm doing great, doing great.
Como podéis ver, Raya Golden es estadounidense, estás ahora mismo, are you in New Mexico right now? Are you in Santa Fe right now?
That's right, that's right. I'm in my lovely house here in Santa Fe.
Wow.
Chilling.
Sounds fancy. So, como podéis ver, Raya Golden no habla español. Entonces, voy a publicar la entrevista yo voy a hacer la entrevista a Raya en inglés. I am going to talk with her in English. Pero todo lo que yo diga va a estar subtitulado debajo del español. Debajo de mí vais a poder ver el texto en español de las preguntas que le haga Raya Golden. Y luego, por supuesto, en los 7 reinos vais a poder leer la transcripción de la entrevista entera en español. Así que, if you are native in English language, you will just listen to us talking all the time in English, but si habláis español, pues podréis leer los subtítulos de la entrevista. So, Raya, I don't want to bother more you, and I don't want to waste more of your precious time. So, you are amazing. Raya is amazing. You don't know her, but Raya is absolutely amazing. I am going to ask, first of all, I want to say congratulations. Congratulations for your amazing work as an artist. Starport is really a wonderful comic. It has a gorgeous style. It's fresh and funny. It has a very strong message. And I really love the super narrative and rhythm of Starport. So the first question, you're an artist. So let's start with the beginning. When and how did you get the idea of working as an artist, adapting and illustrating stories?
Okay, so I've been an artist for a really long time, like even through high school and stuff. In fact, I did like a random comic book in high school called Dog, Bully, and Slut that I just gave to friends and stuff, like printed at Kinko's. I actually went to school in San Francisco to be a traditional and digital artist. My focus was...
You're native from New York, no? So you moved to California to do the way.
That's right. That's right. I was in Montana. And then I moved to First I moved to Washington, and then I moved to California to go to the Academy of Art University. Graduated in 2006. And funny, it's weird. Like I didn't actually take any sequential imaging classes during my college years. Wow. But I've always loved comic books. I in my early years, I was obsessed with ElfQuest as a kid. And then in high school, I was obsessed with a lot of the independents, the 90s independents, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and Poison Elves and a lot of the Image early stuff and Dark Horse.
So like fantasy plus comics, both together. Wow.
Yes, exactly. So and then the adapting part came later. Like I focused my art schooling on more of cover illustration is what I wanted to do. Like be a Brahm, but when I started working with George, the opportunity that came to me was comic book. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
so wow.
That's it. And now I'm full force in it, man. I'm reading nothing but graphic novels and trying to make my life all about it.
Wow, that's a dream, and it's a project that I am sure you will have a great success. And I will be very happy to interview again when your next project arrives. That we will talk about it later in the future. So you have now just said very shortly, but how did you come up with the idea of the concept of making alive George R.R. Martin works? Because I also record a podcast that no one listens. It's called 1,000 Cast with Mateo Barbagallo, with Artur Maya, about the first stories by George R.R. Martin, the first story that he published in the 70s and the 80s. But how did you come up with the idea of adapting like two very different George R.R. Martin stories? One is Midhouse Men, one of the most famous and best short stories by George Martin, and then Starport. That for me, Starport is very crazy because it's a script that never got adapted into TV. How did you come with the idea of adapting those stories?
So, not too surprising. This was not my idea. Like I said, I started working for George right before the beginning of the HBO crazy times. And he is a very supportive person, especially around the people who work with him. and he is known that I'm an artist. He knew I got out of art school. He was like your art, let's do something. And I was like, yeah. He told me, just go ahead and pick whatever you want from my short stories and let me know which one you like. So I went through all his short stories. I read all his dream songs. And I picked out the one that I wanted to do was the Plague Star.
Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So this was in 2014 or so. And Mr. George, I go to him and I'm like, I want to do the Plague Star, and he's like, no. Because not to be mean, it's the rights were, especially the graphic novel rights, were tied up in by a Polish publisher or something like that. I don't even. Somebody had the rights.
I'm a bit crazy. I have to say.
So somebody else had the rights to that story. But he was like, you know what, Raya? I know you like creepy stuff. And I was like, yes, sir, I do.
You like terror? Do you like zombies? I have a zombie story for you.
That's exactly what he said. And Meat House Man, as you may know, if you've read it, is a little risque.
Yeah.
So, and I hadn't read it in Dream Song. They actually cut it out of Dream Song because it's so risque. Or I think they did. They cut it out of something. So I hadn't they cut it out of the audio version. So either way, I hadn't read it. I reread it and I was like, no, I can work with this. I love the Thousand Worlds. This guy is super depressing and
totally,
so I dove into that like little short with Jet City. And that's how the first comic came out. Starport, it was like 2 years after Meat House Man, and George wanted to, Starport has always been his favorite, like, lost TV baby. It was
even more love than Doorways.
I don't know. He said it's okay. So it's his lost baby that he, like, his orphan baby.
Yeah, because Doorways was shot, no?
Doorways got a pilot. It was close. It was Cohen. It was almost there. Like that one got some fruition.
Yeah.
Starport never got any push. It got no attention. So. And it was already a script. Yeah. So he let me read one of the drafts of the first Starport script. And then there was another one that was kind of funnier. This was the one that had Stacko in it, which I kind of liked a little bit more. Stacko is one of my favorite characters.
Lovely.
So I combined the two, and it made it a lot easier to make it into a comic book because it was already structured, all dialogue and description. So that's the progression. Was really he offers me something, I read the story, and I'm like, heck yeah, I want to do this. And I find people to work with, and I do it.
Wow, and the result is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I will say in Spanish, lo digo en español, Puerto Estelar ha sido finalmente traído al español, adaptado al español, gracias a Random House. Random House, that is the same publisher that, of course, George Martin has in the US. En español, bajo el sello Plaza y Janés, así que bueno, cualquiera lo podéis comprar. Y de hecho, ya os aviso que haremos un sorteo. We are going to do a raffle about the book, so I will tell about this later in the video, just to close the video. But well, and as you said, it wasn't like original idea. It was George R.R. Martin idea that the one who became with the idea of adapting this amazing story that is Starport, Puerto Estelar in español. So, as an artist, what is the main difference between drawing an original design or a character or location, or something that was created by another author and you have to do it, like what you have done in Starport?
Really, it's the amount of reference that you come up with. Like when somebody else writes your world for you, you've got descriptions. Like a lot of these aliens were already described. Where George was like, this is what the angels look like. This is what the little guys look like. And I had a little bit of leeway with them. For instance, the angels are originally scripted to have armor, like full articulated armor. Yeah. And I did not want to draw that.
So it was to work, maybe it has to work to draw.
Not only is it a lot of work, but it's a lot of work that if you don't get it right, it looks bad. So I want it to look good. So I came up with the whole, melty metal armor stuff, which ironically I came up with. Well, I don't know, and I don't know if this is canon with the comics. I don't think it is, but I came up with the melty armor like a year before I saw Black Panther, which is when the Marvel MCU started introducing the metallic, the mini armor. Yeah, no, it really is easier to draw. Like, yeah, so that's the main difference. If I'm making up something from scratch, which I've done, I won't give myself any. I mean, I've come up with my own ideas. Just surprisingly, people want to publish George's stories more. Surprise. So coming up with something on your own, you're building the story from scratch. But if you're using somebody else's story, you've got all these things already there that you can kind of work with. Yeah.
It's fine. So without entering in any complicated issues, without breaking any NDA, how does it feel to work with George R. Martin? Like the atmosphere in the work and anything that you can tell without compromise, of course.
Okay. I usually don't talk a lot about this. I talk a lot with. So it's weird for me, because I've known George for like 20 years. His wife is my godmother.
Wow, Paris. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
So that's why I got one of the jobs early on. Was just they were like looking for people. So for me, working for George, I don't know.
It's like looking for an uncle or something like that, I guess.
Exactly. And it's wonderful and fun because the uncle gets to do crazy cool things. And he allows me to write, to draw comic books and to do what my life's passion is. But yeah, I'll just say it's complicated.
I understand that. Yeah. Well, moving on. Starport is a very diverse story, but I also like that really treats modern issues. For example, in 2021, questions like xenophobia and, of course, the role of police. After last year, all the Black Lives movement. So the role of police now has been discussed. So do you think that those themes have evolved well almost 3 decades after the original plot of the book was written?
I mean, honest, this is the thing that I started to worry about halfway into adapting it, because I was like, yay, making cops in Chicago look like fun. And I get it, and I'm not dogging the police force, but it's tough stuff here right now with the way, and then xenophobia and Black Lives Matter and all these things that we know are changing so vibrantly, and trying to put them around a cop comedy in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, you have, for example, TV shows like Brooklyn 999 that you're from New York, and I think that they work quite well. It's a very diverse cast. And the main character is a black gay character that is the star of the show. I totally love him. The other main character is one guy that is Jewish, and the girl is Latino. Of course, I always support Latino representation in the shows. We have also the other Latino. I don't recall the actress that also appears in the Heights. The cast is very diverse, and I think that it's the way to show these kind of topics. And of course, the co-police of Starport is totally diverse. That's right.
Yeah, I did add some diversity to the original cast, and but I mean, a lot of it too was okay. So in my mind, humor was going to help. I like making things tongue in cheek. I thought that would help. But the way I set up the Starport universe is that it's almost an alternate reality, where aliens discovered us in 1992 or something, right? So for almost 3 decades in this alternate universe, we have not been the only things in the universe, right? And I don't know if you've noticed this with human beings, but once we have someone else to pick on, we get together, like, like
it's a community feeling, a tribe almost feeling.
Right. So, like, have you ever read Ursula K. Le Guin's The Lathe of Heaven?
No.
Okay. So one of the main concepts of The Lathe of Heaven is there's this guy who can create reality in his mind. Like, whatever he dreams happens.
Oh.
So this other guy tries to like give him lucid dreams to fix the world.
Oh.
And one of the things he tells him is that he wants world peace. He wants all human beings to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that George R.R. fixes that is by giving us aliens that we can all be angry at, because they're the new thing. We can all band together and be like mad at them. So that's kind of the light of the xenophobia, and also the light of where these people, like, there's not as many problems with cops in this universe because all the humans are like getting along a little bit better.
No,
my idea.
no, but I think it's fine. I think it's fine, and of course, the time has changed, and we are in 2021, no 1993. But I am honest. I think that no one can feel offended. Well, everyone, there is always someone that is offended these times, but rightfully, because we live in a world that is not fair, and a lot of minorities are suffering every single second of their lives.
And we're just trying to make sure that
I think
good.
That is the truth, and we have to say that first of all. But this is very nice.
Hey, thank you.
It's very nice. It's a story that is lovely to read, and it's funny. It's diverse. It really touches very like strong thematic points, like we have said, xenophobia, respect the role of women. Also, it's the main character is a girl, of course. So I think that's very important, and I think that to be honest, you nailed it. You nailed it because it wasn't an easy topic. As you said, cops in Chicago, okay. But I think that the adaptation has gone very, very well. The cast is very diverse, so I can only clap to you, because I think that
drag as many of those jokes up into the 2000s as I could.
But they are lovely. And I also wanted to ask you, as an illustrator, you have always the last word regarding the character design. But for example, it was your choice to draw the main character, or to maybe create the main character as a strong, independent, badass policewoman that is like a very sexy red hair, or some of the character like the main character had previous descriptions by George R. Martin.
Yeah, all the main characters were described by George, and I do have a last say in it. Like, for instance, I changed Charlie quite a bit. Charlie was one of my diversity ads. But I didn't change his character at all. His character remained solidly where he was written. The only thing I changed about him were his parents. That's it. And we don't even mention it in the story, so it doesn't matter.
You just see it. You can just see it and understand that he's not like a typical whitey guy. Okay.
Exactly. And that's what he was written as, like Charlie Baker, the cool white cat with the red hair. And actually, it was Charlie who was supposed to have the red hair. I don't think so. Our main character, she wasn't actually supposed to be a redhead. I just know that George likes redheads, and honest, I like redheads.
Really, George R. Martin loves redheads. Okay, stand on now.
You really look at her character throughout. She is a natural beauty. She looks like an attractive woman who wants to be a cop and wants to get shit done. She doesn't wear heels. She doesn't wear makeup. Her face is full freckles.
A very practical,
full freckles.
Very practical girl. Yeah.
And the freckling thing was actually really important to me, because so many people want to cover up their freckles, and I'm obsessed with freckles. I think freckles are gorgeous.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Raya.
And as far as putting her on the cover, honest, she's not the main character. This is a very George type situation. Like,
a very diverse cast. There
are no main character. They're all important in the role that they're playing. So, but let's face it, I couldn't just put the Spider Hound on the front. That'll look like a horror comic, right? So I had to put somebody up there. And once again, who doesn't like a hot redhead? Like, so I'm gonna put the hot redhead on the cover. I thought that was a no-brainer.
And the cover is fantastic, because you have like, I have never been to Chicago. Maybe next year for Worldcon 2021. Yes. Maybe I hope to be there. Maybe, but we have the main character. Well, not the main character. We have like this alien that we'll talk later about it, and of course the other green aliens that are totally lovely. Yeah. So it's awesome. So we were talking about the aliens. So I had to say I absolutely love the aliens races of Starport. And they were like two very particular aliens that I totally love it. First of all, the one that you call the angels with a very strange name, a species called 302. And of course, the species number 79, that we also have the full story of how they became like the biggest predator in the galaxy or something like that. So what are the inspirations for them? Because this, for me, is a mix of Cthulhu, the creature by Lovecraft, mixed with Predator or something like that.
Oh, yeah. No, all that shit. The spider hound in particular, like the way George describes him is just this horrific kind of critter that can change shapes.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and instead of doing the original designs, because somebody else designed these characters before too, but I tried to steer clear of them. Instead of being like a solid creature that sort of transforms like a transformer organically, I decided to make him like a ball of slimy goo that could turn into something, like at will. And the only thing that stays the same is that banner on his head.
Oh, yeah.
If you watch, like the banner on his head stays the same.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
For the read, I will look at that.
Yeah. And I was going for like Predator, Giger's Alien. Just I went online and I just found like as many cool critters as I could find. And I put together 4 basic.
It looks almost like Lovecraft, like
very cool.
Yeah.
And I'm a Lovecraft lady. I like them. I like them with the tentacles and the slime. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And about the angels, I totally love the angels. That we had like 3 different colors of angels. One are like the good guys, another like the bad guys, and the middle guys.
Well, really, if you look at it, like and those ones, the coloring stuff.
Without spoiling, please, Raya, because the people haven't read the gentleman. So without the spoiling.
Okay, yes, no spoiling. So it's part of their culture. It's like their tribes, and this was a thing that George wrote about the alien species, where so the ones that we see the most of are the silver ones, right? The ones that no. Teal, because we had to keep changing them because like the colors that he picked didn't work, so I had to pick colors that actually worked. As far as they are
like, I think that the comic is very, very bright. I really love the color. It's a very colorful comic. It's not a black gray with a bit of color. It's a very colorful. You just open a page and you get like you receive like a lot of information just looking at the colors, and it's not the blue. You can see a lot of blue sky. I really love the contrast between the blue of the sky and the characters, and those 3 like the angels, the 3 kind of angels, they're like very vivid colors, because purple, green are very like colors that you really want to see more of these colors, more of these.
I wanted to pop out, I really wanted to pop out.
They really highlight when they appear in a scene. They are the highlight of the scene.
And I might point out here, I want to give some mad street cred to my colorists who is written on there. I did not do the majority of the color for this comic book. Rachel Healy did. Because, comics time. That's her right there. She's amazing. So I probably did about 20% of the colors, but because they're so intense, they're so vivid, I needed to hire somebody else to do them for me, or I would have never gotten them done in time.
Yeah. But you were the one who chose what color would have every character, and etc.
Oh yeah, no, I gave her art direction. I made her listen to me.
Art direction. I am a total ignorant in those topics. Okay, art direction. You were like the art direction. Okay.
Yeah. So I got to give her some credit for doing those amazing colors, because they did just turn out beautifully. And then the bright colors of the angels were really to stand them out from each other, and also be able to identify which factions were being led by good people and which factions are being led by maybe questionable people.
We won't spoil anything. So to avoid spoilers, let's move to the next question. I really enjoyed that you adapted some of the original jokes of the original story, like the VHS jokes of the video. Okay, we don't have VHS, we have Blu-ray, and people doesn't use Blu-ray almost anymore because they have a smart TV with HBO and Netflix and etc.
HDMI thing to use.
You adapted some of those old jokes to a world with mobile phones, but you also kept some other vintage references like Kojak or even Gilligan Island. So what was your criteria to try to adapt some jokes to the present day, but other keep them like from vintage.
So remember I told you that my favorite character in this whole thing is Stacko, right? Stacko is hilarious.
Totally.
Yeah, I had to write him in. I had to have him there. He balances things out. He's awesome. If you read really closely, because he talks kind of funny, and I'm sure even the translation of the way he talks almost probably doesn't work.
The translation is very, very, very good, and you understand that this guy talks like a guy from another decade, totally.
Yes, exactly. So if you read really closely, at one point, the time that Stam realizes
that he's talking like Kojak.
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, he's Kojak. The reason he realizes that is because Stacko has told them that he's been studying humanity through television up to the year 1988. And that's all he knows is TV up to 1988. So he loves Cops, he loves Kojak, he loves Knight Rider and Three's Company and Patty Duke, but he has like no concept of Law and Order. So that's how I moved those jokes in. A lot of them are George's jokes, and a lot of them are actually my jokes. I added some extra jokes in there to make him seem even more 80s flavored. And yeah, like he's talking from another decade and is really excited about it.
It's hilarious. I could totally read just a story focused on him because it's totally hilarious. And he's not like very smart, but at the same time, you may understand he's the type of guy that would forget something very obvious because he's so focused in, oh, this is like the movie I saw. So you could totally forget the case, something like that. He's like
an alien with ADHD who really loves Americana television.
Yeah, totally. Oh, it's an amazing character. It's a pity that without spoiling, he appears like very late in the story. I would hardly love that he would appear before in the story, so I could enjoy more about him. Well,
he's actually because like the way it was written, I wanted to do, I didn't want to have to do a big full-on 300-page introduction for this world, but it was written in such a way that it was intended to be a TV show. So the first 20 minutes is just build up.
Yeah, totally.
Second 20 minutes is all the awesome shit. So if I just gave you the build up, no one would want to read the awesome shit. And yes, Stacko comes in right in the middle, right when the good shit starts to happen.
And it's amazing. As you say, it's a pity that, well, who knows the future? Let's cross fingers. Maybe a Starport could be after this adaptation could be adapted into a TV show. I think that animated style could work very well for a story.
Right now it's all a matter of open-ended world. It's a matter of me and George agreeing on which direction it should go in. And you said earlier, a lot of the stuff is sensitive, so it's hard to pick a direction that's gonna be representative well enough.
And I think that under the umbrella of science fiction, you can be more open and treat those themes in a very interesting way.
I almost think doing science fiction in a disfavor if you don't.
For me, that's the key. The key of fantasy and sci-fi genres and even terror is that it allows you to create a new world, and in this new world, the bad things of this world can be erased and new problems can be erased. And for me, what I really love of this genre since I was a kid is that I think that in those non-humans, non-natural worlds is where the real humanity stands out. When humans are against something non-human, like a sci-fi world or fantasy world, is that where the real people shows their colors. So that's for me, that's why so compelling those kind of stories. And Starport is truly
science fiction especially has always been a reflection of humanity. It's to show us what we're capable of and what could happen if we're not paying attention.
Yeah. Some future is bright and some future is darker than this one than our real future. Right. Okay, so as you have said, there are a lot of jokes in Starport, but Starport is a sci-fi story. But it has some humor, it even have a bit of terror without spoiling anything. How do you manage as not so as an illustrator, but also as an adapter? How do you adapt to mix all those different styles into a cohesive story?
Well, I mean, I like I said, I had two different versions of George's original words. I had the version that was kind of tongue-in-cheeky and had Stacko Nihi in it. And I had the version that was way more
Noir.
blue, and it was like more of a cop drama, and it didn't have any of the funny stuff in it, and if it did, it was just low key. So I took both of those versions and basically, like I said, I made it my own. That's my style. I don't know if you noticed from talking to me, but I like stuff, funny stuff, and I like dramatic stuff. So that's where, my style is gonna, since that's what I love, that's what's gonna come best out of me.
Yeah, but I really like that you said that some of the jokes are from you, some of the jokes are from George. I think that, like the art, you have also always the last word about this kind of change or addition, no? I guess.
Well, sort of. I mean, because I'm working with established worlds, I do want to make sure that George is happy. I explain all of my character decisions, and we talk about, any major changes that I plan on doing, because I don't want it to move too far off target from its original space,
No, but I think that it really works very, very well. Well, you have said all the things that you have done related to the, as an art director, as an illustrator, etc. But you don't only design and create amazing comics, or maybe now your future is focused in that way. Your pathway ahead is really more focused about this your work as an art creator, as an illustrator, as a comic writer. But I also want to ask you about another job that is really linked, very connected with this kind of also as an artist. And I wanted to ask you, how would you describe your job as an art and licensing consultant? You were also telling me before that you were like art directing, for example, the girl that was doing all the colors of the story. So as your job as an art and licensing consultant, how do you do your work? Do you provide the reference materials to the artists? Do you suggest what scenes they should draw? And do you point out the inconsistencies? Because you have also even made designs for the Dark Sword miniatures, the A Song of Ice and Fire Dark Sword miniatures. So that's also an art, a work as an artist. So how do you do that kind of advice? Direction?
Mostly I describe myself with Fever River, which is our whole blanket. I am Fever River's in-house artist. So mainly I'm doing licensing development, which is like, I make sure that if someone's going to make a doll out of George, that it looks good and that it's not horrible and that he's happy with it. I tell them, you forgot the little turtle on his hat. You got to put the turtle. And then when it comes to like comic books, I'm working with a whole team of people on comic books, and mainly I just skim through and I'm like, okay, you got the right amount of, Arya's left-handed, good. Thorin, a half hand, is in fact missing fingers. Davos is missing fingers. I'm just correcting and making sure that continuity-wise, everything stays good. I also suggest, I'll suggest, most of the time I want our artists to come up with their own concepts, especially for like the calendars and stuff. Something that
I wanted to ask you about that, because I want to interview, for example, Arancha's España. That is a Spanish illustrator that has done the amazing.
Oh no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Her work is great.
For example, I love I totally love the A Song of Ice and Fire calendar by Arancha. But for example, it has like a different style for the artist. You may say that maybe their characters are more similar to maybe the TV show characters than the illustration by Magali Mirenev or John Picasso. It's really her style, no?
Yeah, it's very much her style. I don't think she did anything. Like, one of the things that I check on with artists is like, okay, you can't make Tyrion look like Peter Dinklage.
Yes.
He gotta look like a book.
He's too beautiful. He cannot be A Song of Ice and Fire.
So I make sure of that stuff, and I want people to have their own expression, as long as it's not too, like, that's why it can't be too focused. It's like, yes, Sansa always has to have auburn hair, but if you might want to articulate her face differently, I want to see that. And a lot of the times I'm just suggesting things like, let's not have a Bran falling scene. We've had so many Bran falling scenes. Like, let's just not do that anymore for a while. Let's wait. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so how does it, for example, to work with someone like Mike S. Miller? I don't know, maybe Daniel Auram was the one talking with him, but Michael S. Miller is a very famous guy and he has adapted George's stories. How does it feel to work with
something
like not a legend, but famous.
I mean, honestly, when it's the big boys like that, I usually don't have much to say. You know, like I'm like, yeah, that looks amazing.
No, but you are the expert in the actual characters and actual stories.
And
so
then that's the thing. Most of
the world don't know Westeros as good as you
know about. You know, like oh, you got the eye color wrong. Oh, Jamie rides this kind of horse. Oh, it's almost never like their art. You know,
I understand that. You have to respect
especially with the big boys. Oh gosh, yeah, with the big boys, I get a little nervous with the big boys.
Because you are like a reference for a lot of
big girls too. Big folks, big people.
No, totally. But for example, you were talking about the Dark Sword miniatures. Sometimes I do the one to okay, let's do a miniature about this character in this context, or most of the time they come up with ideas.
They come up with all the ideas for that. All the miniatures are on their side. Again, I'm just looking at their designs before they go to print or market and being like, did you get this character right? And so that George, basically I do that so that George doesn't have to. This way, it's another level of stuff off of his plate so he can do other things.
And for example, do you also work with the Valyrian Steel guys, the guys from the swords?
The Dark Sword guys?
Valyrian Steel, the ones of the sword.
Yeah. Oh no, I work with them all the time.
Oh, you just work with them. I didn't know. It was just out of curiosity. I didn't know.
Like I said, I am a catch-all of art direction. and on top of it, I do all of the in-house business cards and letterheads and web design and just all that crap.
Web design is, you know that every time you update something of George R. Martin website, people becomes crazy. So I remember a few years ago you updated like a small banner of
media too.
Publication, and there were threads on Reddit. Oh, the next book publication has been updated, and you had read hundreds of comments, and I was thinking, poor Raya. Oh
no, but I've got a good team. I work with other people now, so everybody's like got their thing. And yeah, like I said, I'm the catch-all art direction person for Fever River, and I'll remain that way. I can still do that remotely while I'm working on my comic.
Oh, okay. Because we are going to do one of the last questions of the interview, because I know that because you posted on Facebook, so it's not like a secret anymore. But what could you tell us about your next project? Is another George R. Martin adaptation?
Yes. Okay, so you remember when I was like 10 years ago, I wanted to do this thing called the Plague Star? I'm doing the Plague Star! I am so excited. This is an open-ended world at the very end of a time period called the Interim in the Thousand Worlds, where humanity has already been in space for like 2,000 years. It's established, and to give you a better, so it's about 500 years after Meat House Man. And it's all about these 6 crazy characters who are trying to find out the mystery of this thing called the Plague Star. And yeah, it's gonna be a fucking amazing. Like I said, this can go on, and there's no I'm
anything to like some stories written by George that are developed about these characters, about this world. So Voyaging, the official name is Voyaging, no? As far as I know.
Voyaging? I said, say it again.
Voyaging?
Oh, Voyaging. I'm sorry. Voyaging. That's the one. I'm so excited. This is Voyaging, Volume 1, The Plague Star.
Wow.
And hopefully there'll be more volumes. I mean, okay, so I keep calling it this. Anybody who knows George, and since this is a George appreciation site, I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who do, and know his science fiction work, know who I am talking about, and will be very excited right now. But I'm trying to keep it sort of like close to the chest so that new readers can be surprised. Yeah. Because any old reader, you hear that, you know who's going to win. You know who's George characters. But I don't want to give it away for people who haven't read about this character.
We won't spoil anything. But I remember I was writing you on Facebook the other day, and I chatting with you, and I told you what I'm going to tell you now. I have a very good relationship with Alejo Cuervo, that is the boss of Gigamés, the Gigamés publisher that was publishing until now A Song of Ice and Fire, and not all A Song of Ice and Fire, all George R. Martin works in Spanish language. Of course, they are, for example, they are now publishing now more of a story like collection of the Drink songs and stories like that in Spanish language. And I was talking with him in the Celsius Festival in Avilés, that I think you know it, you have been there. And Alejo was saying, does redacted story, like voyaging story, was made to be a comic book. And Alejo Cuervo knows a lot about science fiction and comics, etc. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I like to tell people that as far as a character goes, to have legs to go on, this character has legs like a carnival dancer. Just go on forever. Go on forever.
Like a flamenco dancer, maybe even. Excellent. Wow.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. And like I said, I think other people will be too. I'm gonna do the Blake Star as best as I can, and if it's through 10 Speed Press this time, which is a subsidiary of Penguin Random House, but they do amazing work. They're really awesome publishing company. I'm super excited to work with them. And this one's gonna be a trade paper too, so it'll be in Starport. It's only going to be 200 pages or so, or 260 pages, but it's trade and a lot cheaper.
The original story is not a very, very long story, so I think it's good in this format. Yeah. And I think
that way.
Do you think that more or less maybe in 2 years, 2.5 years, maybe ready, something like that? 2.5.
As far as all the stories?
No, just for the first one.
Oh, for the first one? Yeah, no. The first one's going to be just one full story all the way through. Nothing but the Plague Star.
So when do you think it will be released? 2023, 2024?
Is what we're shooting for. Spring or like I turn it in at the beginning of 2023.
Oh.
And that's when we'll announce publication, and it'll probably be like that March or something.
Well, let's hope that Penguin Random House Spain doesn't take 2 years to bring it here. I am sure that the pandemic has really affected them, because if not, we would have been able to read Starport, Puerto Estelar before in Spanish. But I would talk to you for hours, because I really admire you. I think that all the George R. Martin link community in Spanish language in Spain, but also hundreds of thousands of people in Latin America really really love what you have been doing, and really praise your work all these years, helping George creating the amazing work that he has created. So I could be talking with you for hours, but you have a life and you have to work and you have to create the new amazing story, the Black Star, that with a redacted name, and voyaging, the new voyaging story. So
thank you, Abby, for having me.
No. I as I said, as a community, as a member of the Spanish community, we will never ever be grateful enough to thank you and all the other people that are George Martin for his work, for what they are doing all these years. Personally, I will never forget the Wolfers Party in Dublin, okay? But that's just myself. But the Spanish community, the people from Spanish and Latin America, and all the people that watch, reads Los Siete Reinos, there's a lot of people that Los Siete Reinos really knows and really praises what you are doing all these years. So from our deeply heart, we just want to thank you for everything that you have done, and a huge thanks and a huge congratulations for this, I would say, new masterpiece that is Starport.
Like I said, what's nice about it is that it's open-ended, but it does stand on its own. I feel like the story stands on its own. It has an ending.
Yes, it's funny, it's relaxing. It's the story. The plot is really, really compelling, and you really want to. You start reading Starport, and you won't stop reading until you finish it, because you really want to know what is happening. And the art is superb. All the different kind of aliens are each one with their personal design. It's fantastic. It's totally fantastic. So Raya, thank you very much for everything, and it has been not just a pleasure, an honor to chat with you in these hot summer days.
Gracias. Thank you, Avi, so much. And hopefully we'll talk again in the future.
I am sure we will do. Okay, so muchísimas gracias a todos. Lo último que voy a decir es que gracias a los amigos de Penguin Random House vamos a sortear un libro En la descripción del libro tendréis las instrucciones de instruction for the refill of the new book. Vamos a hacer un sorteo del libro. En la descripción del vídeo tendréis toda la información. Y bueno, sin más, muchísimas gracias. Thank you, Raya, again. You are simply amazing. Thank you again. And as we say in my channel, muchísimas gracias. La canción continúa, pero sobre todo, we'll see you next week. Nos vemos la semana que viene. Adiós. Bye, bye. Oh.